At first, I thought we got robbed. Drawers open, pillows tossed, one heel in the hallway, her side of the closet gone, just hangers swinging like tiny nooses. But nothing else was touched. My tools were still in the shed. My laptop was still charging by the bed. Even the envelope of cash under the rice bag in the pantry? Untouched. Only her stuff was missing. Only her presence. Her smell, her clutter, her voice. Gone. Except for one thing. Her debt. Still very much here. Still very much mine. And that's when I saw it. The unopened letter from her student loan servicer on the counter, next to a champagne cork and a shattered wine glass. That was yesterday morning. Now I'm sitting in this kitchen, staring at the words I scribbled in thick Sharpie and left taped to the fridge. I'm leaving. Good luck paying off your debts. But before anyone starts calling me petty, cruel, or unstable, I need you to understand one thing. This didn't start yesterday. It started 5 months ago when I found a receipt in our bathroom trash for a hotel in a city I'd never visited. A hotel booked under her maiden name. The lie wrapped in lipstick. Let me guess. You think this is going to be one of those stories where the clueless husband ignores the signs and plays Xbox while his wife lives a double life. Wrong. I saw the signs. I just didn't leave right away because I thought maybe I deserved it. That's the messed up part. I thought, well, you were kind of boring, Trevor. Maybe this is your fault. Yeah, that's my name. Trevor. Not sexy. Not dangerous. Just Trevor. I fix vending machines for a living and drink Diet Pepsi like it's a personality trait. And she was Sylvie, with an I, not a Y, because she said it looked more French. She worked part-time as a lash tech and part-time at making me feel invisible. Still, I stayed. I cooked. I cleaned. I paid her car insurance when she forgot. I watched her scroll her phone with this little smile, like she was texting God himself. I heard her giggle at 11:42 p.m. and pretend it was a meme. But the hotel receipt? That's when I started watching her more carefully. Quietly. Like a background app she forgot was still running. The disappearance wasn't the shocking part. It was the timing. You want to know what night she left? The night before my final payment on her $18,700 private loan. Yeah, $18,700. She didn't even go to that school long enough to graduate. But I paid it. Every month. On time. Like a husband. She said it was our future. You ever hear silence so loud it sounds like static in your ears? That was this morning, when I realized she didn't even leave a note. No sorry. No goodbye. She just vanished. And now? Now it's my turn. But first, I'm going to tell you everything. The fake job interviews, the suspicious bruises, the night she came home crying with glitter in her hair and said it was a bad dream. And the worst part? I still don't hate her. I didn't leave right away. I thought I would. I imagined myself storming out, suitcase in hand, slamming the door like in the movies. But I didn't. I sat in the kitchen chair like a man who forgot how to move, staring at the place her shoes used to be stacked in a chaotic little pile she never cleaned. Now there was just dust and a crumpled receipt for oat milk. The apartment felt like a murder scene, except the body was my marriage. She didn't even take her passport. That haunted me more than anything. If you're running away, really running, wouldn't you take the one document that proves who you are? The thing that gets you out of the country, out of reach? But no, her passport was in the top drawer, right where I left it after we canceled our Vegas trip last fall. She'd claimed to be burnt out and needed space. Now I realized she just needed me out of the picture. I kept going over the last 2 weeks, playing them in my head like a courtroom cross-examination. She'd been colder, sure, but not gone. She still kissed me when she left in the mornings. Still brought me coffee with too much creamer. Still talked about refinancing. She told me just 3 days ago she wanted to repaint the bedroom, something calming. How do you say that and then vanish? I checked her Instagram, private. I checked her Facebook, deleted. I even dug into her Venmo history, and that's when something shifted. There were payments to someone named K.W. every Friday for the past 6 weeks. $160, $220, $140. No description, nothing tagged, no emojis. Just cold, silent transfers. I didn't recognize the initials. We didn't know any K.W. I tried to convince myself it could be something innocent. Then I realized it didn't matter if it was or wasn't. Because she was gone, and she didn't say why, and that silence was louder than any confession. And that was when I made the call. I didn't call her. I called the landlord. Hey, John. Yeah. Can you take her name off the lease? He paused. Everything okay? I swallowed. Just cleaning house. Figured I'd start with the paperwork. It was 3:17 p.m. when I started packing up her unopened mail. There were 4 envelopes from Chase, one from her old student loan servicer, and one thick manila folder that didn't even have a return address. Just her full name in block letters. I wasn't going to open it, but it fell and burst open when I moved it. What was inside? A car rental agreement. Not in her name. In mine. Signed electronically. Billed to my backup credit card, the one I hadn't used in over a year. That was the moment I stopped being confused and started getting angry. She was still using me. Even when she wasn't here. Even when she left me in the middle of the night with no note, no goodbye, no explanation. She was still tying knots around my name like I was just a utility she could turn on and off. She didn't disappear. She removed herself from the responsibility of being my wife and tried to do it quietly, like slipping out of a hotel room while someone else footed the bill. But now I wanted to know one thing. Who the hell was KW? And why the hell was my name on a rented black SUV that had racked up over 900 miles in 2 weeks? I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even try. I sat in that worn-out recliner she hated. The one she always said made the living room look like a divorced uncle lives here. And stared at the printed rental agreement until the words stopped looking like English. I could see my name right there at the top. Trevor Grant. Rented, a black Chevrolet Tahoe. Duration, 14 days. Picked up 2 Fridays ago. Return date listed as open. I never rented a Tahoe. I hadn't even seen a Tahoe in months. But there it was, in my name. Charging to a card I'd completely forgotten existed. A card I had only ever added to our joint Amazon account. And only as a backup when hers got declined once during the holidays. Somewhere out there, someone had a car under my name and was racking up miles like it meant nothing. And I had a sinking feeling I already knew who was driving it. I just didn't know why, or with who. The next morning, I called the rental company and asked for the vehicle status. The guy on the phone sounded half asleep and halfway to quitting his job. Yeah, it's still out. Checked out from the Miller Avenue location. Let's see. GPS ping was last recorded 2 days ago. Do you want to enable real-time tracking? I paused. Yes. He gave me a login and password like it was no big deal. Just another Tuesday. Just another married man activating a digital breadcrumb trail because his wife vanished into the night like a magician who forgot to come back for the applause. I logged in. The map opened. And my stomach dropped. The vehicle wasn't in our city anymore. Wasn't even in the state. It was pinging live in Indiana, parked outside a place called the Red Elk Motel. A 3-star dump with a blinking neon sign and 5 stars on Yelp. Reviews said things like, smelled like cigarettes and secrets, and I think the tub was bleeding. I stared at the red blinking dot for over an hour, like I expected it to suddenly move or drive back to me and explain itself. I almost didn't want it to. I already knew. But I had to be sure. I called the motel. My hands were shaking as I held the phone to my ear. A man picked up with a deep, phlegmy voice that sounded like he hadn't slept in years. Red Elk. Hi. I'm trying to reach someone staying there. Under the name Sylvie. Or Sylvie Grant. There was a pause. Papers shuffled. A chair creaked. Yeah, she's here. Room 23. Want me to connect you? I didn't answer. I hung up. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even feel my fingers. She was there. Using my name. My money. My identity. And for what? What the hell was she doing in Indiana at some roadside murder inn with a stolen SUV and no explanation? I started to feel sick. I needed air. I threw on a hoodie, stepped out into the cold, and started walking. Not even thinking about direction, just moving. I walked 6 blocks before I realized I'd left the apartment unlocked. Not that it mattered. There was nothing left in it worth stealing. She'd already taken everything valuable. The espresso machine, the good towels, and the last bits of my trust in her. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. No caller ID. I almost didn't answer. But something told me to pick up. A woman's voice came through. Calm. Collected. Not hers. Trevor Grant. Yes. This is Detective Ryland with the Anderson County Sheriff's Office. We need to speak with you regarding a vehicle rented in your name that was recently involved in an incident. Are you currently in possession of the Chevrolet Tahoe? My heart slammed against my ribs. What kind of incident? She paused. I think it's better if we talk in person. I spent the rest of that day in a blur, pacing around my apartment like a prisoner on the last day of appeal. The detective had said we'd talk in person, and when I asked when, she just said, soon. Then she hung up. No address. No instructions. No confirmation of whether my wife was okay, or even alive. Just, soon. I hated that word more than anything now. Soon is what liars say when they want you to sit still while they finish ruining your life. At exactly 6:03 p.m. Someone knocked on my door. Not a buzz. Not a doorbell. A knock, low and firm. The kind of knock that doesn't ask permission. I opened the door, expecting some worn-out cop with a notepad and coffee breath. Instead, I saw a woman in plain clothes, sharp brown eyes, no nonsense. Beside her stood a younger man, early 30s, maybe, wearing jeans and a hoodie but flashing a badge before I could ask. "Mr. Trevor Grant?" she asked, though her tone said she already knew. "Yeah," I replied, every syllable dry. "I'm Detective Ryland. This is Deputy Cleary. Can we come in?" I stepped aside, too numb to do anything else. They didn't waste time. She pulled out a small envelope, laid it on my dining table. The same table where Sylvie once set up scented candles to make us feel European. Now it smelled like panic and stale air. Ryland slid a photo out of the envelope and placed it face up. It was a man, late 30s, shaved head, crooked smile, bruise under his eye. "Do you know this man?" she asked. I didn't, but my stomach reacted like I did. "No," I answered honestly, but my hands were sweating like liars do. "That's Kellen Weaver," she said. "He was found unconscious in the parking lot of the Red Elk Motel. No wallet, no phone, car keys to a black Tahoe in his pocket, the Tahoe that was rented in your name." I felt the floor shift beneath me. "He's in a coma, multiple head injuries, and he was last seen checking into the room with your wife." I opened my mouth, but no words came out. I just blinked at her, trying to force this whole situation to make sense. Coma? My wife was with him. At that dump of a motel? Why? Who was he? Detective Ryland was watching my face like it was a confession. Cleary stood silent behind her, arms crossed. I felt like a suspect in my own life. "She used my card," I finally said, voice cracking. "I didn't know about the car until yesterday. I didn't even know where she was until this morning. I called the motel, and they said she was there, but I didn't talk to her." She nodded slowly, jotting something in a little spiral notebook. "We believe she's traveling under multiple aliases. She signed into the motel as Lisa Kent, but motel staff confirmed she matched the photo you gave them." My head was spinning. Multiple aliases? Sylvie barely remembered to pay our internet bill. Now she's living out some Netflix fugitive arc? "Can I ask?" I started. "Was she hurt?" Another pause. This one longer. "She's missing," Ryland said. "Fled the motel sometime between 4 and 6 a.m. Surveillance cuts out just before she leaves. We don't know if she hurt Mr. Weaver or if someone else did. But she's gone, and we have reason to believe she's trying to cross state lines." Gone. Again. But this time, it wasn't a silent exit. It was smoke in her wake. Blood. A man in a coma. And me, left behind with no answers. Only consequences. They stayed another 15 minutes, asked more questions. How long had we been married? Did I know anyone named Weaver? Had she ever spoken about Indiana? I answered honestly, but the answers didn't help me feel any less like a fool. When they finally left, Ryland gave me her card and told me not to leave town. As if I had anywhere else to go. I stood at the window for hours after that, watching my own reflection in the glass instead of the street below. I thought about our wedding. Her vows. The way she whispered that I made her feel safe. Safe. She said that word like it was a compliment. But now I think it was an insult. She didn't marry me because she loved me. She married me because I was a goddamn cover. A soft place to hide her chaos, her lies, and her secret life. And the worst part? Even now, I wanted to believe she was in trouble, not evil. But deep down, I knew better. I didn't go to work the next day. I didn't call in either. What was I supposed to say? "Hey, sorry boss. My wife might be involved in putting a man in a coma and is now using a fake identity to cross state lines. I might be next." No. I just sat on the couch, staring at the coffee table like it owed me an explanation. Her half-drunk protein shake was still there, slowly separating into layers. I couldn't throw it out. It felt like evidence, like if I kept enough of her leftovers, I could summon her back and demand an answer. But instead of her, I got something else. I remembered, out of nowhere, that I still had my old phone in a drawer. The one I used before she convinced me to upgrade last year. I don't know what made me grab it. Nostalgia? Madness? Or maybe I just wanted to scroll through old photos and remind myself that once, for a few brief moments, she looked at me like I mattered. The battery was dead, of course. I plugged it in, waited, and once it flickered on, I was hit with a flood of notifications. Missed messages, forgotten group chats, a ton of spam, and one single voicemail, marked as unheard. Dated 3 weeks ago. The number was unknown. I hit play. There was static first, like someone fumbled the phone in a bag or car. Then her voice, whispering, rushed, breathless. Trevor, if you still have this number, listen, I messed up. I need to fix something. I didn't mean for. Cutting noise, then a pause. It's not what it looks like. You're going to hear things. Don't believe anyone until I can explain. There's a box. The one I kept in the unit. The blue one, under the blanket. You'll know. Just don't call the cops. Please. I'm sorry. I'm so sore. The message cut off. No explanation. No follow-up. Just that one voicemail lost on a dead SIM card in a drawer full of expired receipts and dust. A storage unit? What storage unit? We didn't have one. Not together. But then again, she'd made a habit out of keeping secrets in plain sight. I opened her old laptop, the one she claimed was too slow to use anymore. Took me 10 minutes to crack the password, Vanishes 88. Of course, a brand she always wanted to launch, but never followed through on. I checked her email. Nothing useful. Then I hit autofill on Chrome. And that's when it popped up. Stories account. Kent unit number 117 accessed 5 times in last 30 days. There it was again. Kent. The fake name she used at the motel. She wasn't just hiding. She was building a whole other identity. One click deeper showed the location. A place just 18 minutes from our apartment, tucked behind a strip mall I'd driven past 100 times. I didn't think. I just grabbed my jacket and keys and drove. The storage place was nearly empty. The kind of place with peeling numbers and fluorescent lights that flicker like they're keeping secrets. I gave the front desk guy my best confused husband face and said I was helping my sister move some stuff. He didn't care. Most people don't when you look tired enough. Unit 117 was halfway down the row. I found it unlocked. The padlock hung uselessly on the latch, like it had been reclosed without snapping shut. My heart kicked into my throat. Inside, it was clinical. That was the word. Not messy, not abandoned, just strategic. 1 folding table, 2 duffel bags, 3 shoeboxes stacked neatly, and the blue plastic container under a gray blanket, exactly where she said it would be. I pulled the lid. Inside were documents, photocopies of IDs under different names, gas station receipts from different states, Polaroids of buildings I didn't recognize, a burner phone, and a tablet. I turned on the tablet. It opened right to the camera roll. The first image was a photo of me, sitting at our dinner table, from behind the blinds. I don't even know when it was taken. I was wearing my blue hoodie. I looked like a ghost in my own home. The second image? Her, standing in the same storage unit. Only this time, her eyes didn't look like hers anymore. They were cold, focused, calculated. She wasn't posing. She was documenting. She looked into the lens like she knew I'd be watching one day. And that was the first time I was afraid of her. I left the storage unit with the tablet wrapped in the blanket like it was radioactive. I didn't take the duffel bags. I should have, I know, but my nerves were cooked. Every shadow looked like a person. Every car that drove past me on the way home felt like it was following too long. My thoughts kept folding in on themselves. What the hell was Sylvie doing with burner phones and surveillance photos? Who was she hiding from? Or worse, working with? Back at my apartment, the air felt stale. Too still. I set the tablet on the counter like it might bite me and stood in the kitchen for a long time, just listening. To the hum of the fridge. The ticking of the old wall clock. Nothing else. Until I noticed it. The picture frame on the mantel had moved. Not much. Just tilted, maybe an inch off center. But I was the only one with keys. I don't care how subtle it was. I hadn't touched that photo in weeks. That's when I felt it. The crawling sensation across the back of my neck. That ancient, primal instinct that tells you something is wrong before your brain can articulate it. I backed toward the living room window and pulled the curtain just enough to peek through. Across the street, In the alley between two buildings was a figure. Still, watching. No phone. No smoke. No movement. Just standing there like a statue that didn't blink. I froze. My breathing got loud in my ears. I reached for my phone to snap a photo. Because what else was I going to do? Run outside with a baseball bat and a speech about privacy rights? But by the time I raised the camera, gone. Vanished like fog in a spotlight. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room with the lights off, waiting, watching, checking the peephole every 30 minutes. But nothing came back. No more shadow. No more stillness. Just me and the hum of paranoia settling into my bones. Around 4 a.m., I picked up the tablet again. The gallery had more than photos. There were videos, too. 10-second clips. Mostly of me. Eating. Sleeping. Reading emails. One of me brushing my teeth while she stood behind me filming, completely silent. That one made my chest clench so hard I thought I was having a heart attack. And then came the final video. Not of me. Not of her. Of him. Kellen Weaver, the man from the motel. The one in the coma. He was standing in a gas station, arguing with someone just off camera. The footage was shaky, filmed from inside a car. Kellen was yelling, his body tensed like a coiled spring. You couldn't hear what he was saying, but whatever it was, he meant it. Then the camera panned slightly, and I recognized the background. A tiny roadside gas station just outside of Greenwood. One I'd been to. One I'd filled up at when we took a trip together for her cousin's wedding 2 years ago. My jaw tightened. She filmed this. She knew where he was. She followed him. Documented him. Was she hunting him? Or helping him? And then came the final frame of the clip. A pause, just as Kellen looked straight toward the camera. Like he knew she was there. Like they were playing a game they both understood. One that I had never been part of, just a spectator who thought he was a player. I shut the tablet and backed away from it like it had exploded. That was when I heard the knock. Not on the door this time. On the window. A single, slow knock. 3 taps. Then silence. I turned, heart pounding, sweat breaking across my back. The blinds were closed. The room was still. But I swear to God, I saw the faintest outline of a handprint against the glass. Pressed flat. Deliberate. And then, just beneath it, scrawled in dust, 2 letters. K.W. I didn't move for almost an hour after I saw those letters. K.W. Faint, scrawled into the dust of my own window like a signature I never asked for. I wiped it away with my sleeve so fast I scraped the skin off my arm. I needed it gone. Like if I erased the name, the person behind it would vanish too. But I couldn't unsee it. Couldn't unfeel the quiet dread it carved into me. I didn't sleep again. Didn't eat. My body was starting to feel like something I was borrowing, not living in. Muscles tight. Joints cracking. My heartbeat now a constant metronome ticking out a countdown to something I couldn't name. And then, as if summoned by the slow erosion of my sanity, someone rang the doorbell. Not a knock. A ring. Long, loud, and too confident. I looked through the peephole and nearly dropped to my knees. It was an old man. Gray beard. Tattered coat. Eyes like stones that had seen too many winters. He wasn't threatening, but he wasn't comforting either. He looked like someone who knew things. Not in a wise way. In a witness to ruin way. He was holding a manila folder. I opened the door 2 inches, kept the chain on. You Trevor, he asked. Voice rough, like sandpaper over gravel. Yes. He raised the folder. She told me to give you this. If she went missing. I stared at him. Who are you? A mistake, he said simply. But a useful one. He dropped the folder inside the door and walked away without another word. Not fast. Not slow. Just like a man who had finished something and was now walking off stage forever. I opened the folder with shaking hands. Inside was a printed transcript. Phone calls. Bank logs. A set of keys taped to the last page with a sticky note that read, Use only if you can't trust anyone. The keys were labeled Storage Unit 3B, South Mill Facility. Not the same one I'd already visited. Another one. Another secret. But the transcript is what froze my blood. It was a call, dated 6 months ago, between Sylvie and someone labeled Agent C. I read it 3 times, not understanding. Sylvie. No, he doesn't know. I told you, he's not the type. He doesn't even ask questions when things don't add up. Agent C. We need a clean record. The finances have to be transferred without him catching on. Sylvie, he won't. He thinks he's helping me build a skincare business. It's almost funny. I stopped reading. I couldn't go further. I felt my knees buckle as I sat on the floor, the paper crumpling under my fingers. This wasn't cheating. This wasn't betrayal. This was manipulation on an industrial scale. Was she laundering something? Working with who? An agent? Government? Black market? Why use me? Why choose me? Then, like a final insult from the universe, I saw something behind the living room vent. The metal panel was slightly off-center, something I never noticed before, but now couldn't unsee. I got a screwdriver, removed it. Inside, a camera, small, black, the kind that connects to a network, and a second SD card labeled, "Play if he finds it." My hands shook so hard I dropped it twice before inserting it into the laptop. The video opened with static. Then her face appeared. Sylvie, in our apartment, alone, calm, speaking directly to the lens. "Trevor, if you found this, then I guess you're finally paying attention. I never wanted you to be involved. You were just convenient. You followed rules. You didn't dig. That's why I picked you. That's why they approved you." She paused. "You were supposed to be the background noise. The alibi. The boring, safe husband. And honestly, you were perfect at it." She smiled. Not kindly. Then the screen went black. No explanation. No closure. Just that cold, calculated smile. The last thing I saw before the lights in my apartment cut out. I sat in the pitch black, listening to my own breath echo off the walls, realizing I had no idea who I was married to, and that someone, somewhere, had decided I didn't need to know. Not until it was far too late. The lights in the apartment came back on after 12 minutes. Not 10, not 15, 12. I counted every second because that's what panic does. It sharpens everything down to raw numbers. I stood there frozen in the glow of overhead bulbs like someone being born again, stripped of every lie I'd ever been told. The silence afterward felt like a reset. Like whatever game she was playing had just finished its last round, and I had lost, but somehow wasn't out. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even try. I left the apartment before dawn, drove across the city to the South Mill storage facility. The key she left in the folder worked on Unit 3B. Inside, I found more than I expected, and less than I feared. A single suitcase. Inside were documents. Bank accounts in the Caymans. A fake passport. A new identity, Isabel Kane. It was all hers. Her entire future packed into a single Samsonite, waiting to be picked up when the dust settled. But most importantly, there was cash. Stacks of it, tightly wrapped, untraceable. And on top, a letter, handwritten. No envelope, just folded, with my name on the outside. "Trevor, if you're reading this, then you weren't as dull as I thought. That's a compliment, whether you believe it or not. You were never supposed to be involved in any of this. You were the one part of my life that was clean. Boring, yes, painfully boring, but clean. I needed clean. I needed safe. And you were that. Until you started looking. And once you looked, I couldn't protect you anymore. Take the money. You've earned it. All of it. Don't look for me. I don't exist anymore. But you do. And now, maybe, for the first time, you're free." I read it 3 times. I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't heartbroken, but because something in me had already grieved her long ago, long before I knew what she really was. I think I started mourning the real version of her the first time she looked through me instead of at me. I took the suitcase, filed a police report, and turned in the burner devices. I gave the detectives everything they asked for, except the money. That part one kept. Not out of spite. Not out of revenge. Out of necessity. That money funded my exit. 2 months later, I moved 3 states away. Rented a quiet cabin near a lake. Got a new job working maintenance at a retreat center where nobody knew my name and nobody cared what I used to be. I planted tomatoes. I fixed broken sinks. I watched storms roll in and listened to the wind without waiting for a voice to come behind it with a lie. Therapy helped. Time helped. Silence helped the most. I stopped waiting for her to show up again. Stopped checking dark alleys and motel windows. I realized something that I think saved me. She never wanted to destroy me. She just didn't care enough not to. That realization hurt more than anything. But it also freed me. 6 months to the day after the lights went out, I went for a walk down to the lake at sunrise. First warm morning in a while. I was drinking coffee from a chipped mug and letting the quiet settle deep into my chest. A golden retriever ran past me, soaking wet and smiling like dogs do. Then came her voice. Not hers. Not Sylvie's. A stranger. "Sorry, The woman laughed. He thinks everyone with a coffee cup wants to play fetch. She had a kind smile. Faint freckles. Kind eyes that looked at me, not through me. I smiled back, a little surprised by how easy it came. It's okay, I said. I could use the company. We talked for 5 minutes. Then 10. We didn't exchange numbers. No promises. Just two people on a warm morning by the lake, talking like maybe the past doesn't have to define every inch of your future. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like a ghost in someone else's story. I felt like a man again. My name is Trevor, and I'm still here.